What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop, and in this episode we are going to attach these handle scales with that black G10 and copper sheets running through it. We're going to attach these scales to this Kumai knife. Of course, blade's covered up right now because we are going to be doing some work to this, and I don't want to get glue all over this blade, but these are going to go on here with those copper pins, and then we're going to shape them and show y'all what it looks like. But let's go ahead, let's jump into this, and let's get this knocked out. So I'm gonna let y'all really just enjoy a lot of the noises that comes with making stuff like this, but I will pop in and tell y'all a little bit about what we're doing on some of the parts. Like right now, we just wanted to go ahead and clean everything before we glue it together. And we're gonna be using a 2-part epoxy, just JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. And we're going to go ahead, mix this real well, and then put thin layers on all the pieces that we're going to be gluing together. We're going to put epoxy in the pinholes, we're going to put epoxy on the pins, everything, and then we're going to put everything together, clamp it together, and then clean any of the excess with acetone. And I will tell you, every single time I would put the pins into the scales, they would grab that layer of copper that goes through the scales. And even though everything fit real well, I would have to force everything together each time. And I did not want to open up the holes or anything to make it easier because I wanted to have nice, tight fitment on this. And you do want to make sure you don't clamp your clamps down too tight. You want to get everything closed, but not squeeze out all of the epoxy. What I wanted to do on this step was use this 80 grit Norton ceramic belt to just put a bevel all the way around the outside, and I wanted it to kind of mimic the bevel that we had already created on the front of the scales where they meet the ricasso, so that we have a nice even set of copper lines running all the way around the outside of the scales. So it's going to leave a cool effect, and you'll be able to see that in the outro, but that's what we're going to work on with the 2x72, is just getting that bevel nice and even all the way around. You do want to make sure that you check the fitment and the ergonomics of everything while you're doing this. So you're making sure that you're removing material from the right areas and leaving material in the right areas so that you don't make something that is uncomfortable and has weird hot spots on your hands that are painful. So once we got the work done on the 2x72, we want to go ahead and use our oscillating spindle sander to just smooth out some of the rough lines from the 2x72. And this is real good at getting into the nooks and crannies and being able to soften and round over things. You can do this with the small wheel attachment on a 2x72, but I don't have one of those, so I'm using my spindle sander. And this is an 80 grit drum as well, just like the belt on the 2x72. And we use this to minimize the amount of hand sanding that we're going to end up doing. And when it comes to hand sanding, we are using 220 grit, 320 grit, 500 grit, 800 grit, and 1000 grit to get the finish that we got on this handle. Now it's time to start buffing, and we are using a buffing wheel with a green compound on it, and it does a real good job at buffing out this handle. And I'm really excited for y'all to see the final result of this. But before we do that, we're going to end up doing some cutting and some chopping so that y'all can see what this blade can do. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a sharpness test. Got a paper towel, tube here, got the knife. See what we got. Nice and clean with a knife that is 1/4 of an inch thick. Definitely not too shabby. Just to give y'all an idea of how a knife that's made with this much copper holds up. Got a piece of hardwood. Right there. And that's what the blade looks like. Well guys, it is definitely super sharp, and I did sharpen it off camera. All I did was the 400 grit on the 2x72, the 600, the 800 grit, and then the leather strapping belt on the 1x30, just like I've done on tons of other knives. If y'all want to see that, I've got tons of videos showing you how I sharpen. I am super happy with this knife, and I wanted to take a minute and talk to y'all about something. So whenever I first set out to make something like this, I was wondering if I was going to be able to do it. I was wondering if the overall process was going to be a thing that worked, you know, with doing the Mokume Gane style stuff that I did, forging 2 billets and then forging those 2 billets to another set of billets. So it came out with 13 layers of steel and copper. I didn't know that it was going to work, or if any of those processes were going to be a thing, and I did it different than a lot of people are doing it on YouTube with the way that they make their kumais. I'm super happy that this turned out the way that it is, and hopefully y'all really like the overall package. I mean, check out that blade, check out those scales with that pop of copper all the way around there, almost looking like it's inlaid into the scales. We got all those layers throughout the spine right there. I just think that the overall contrast with the copper pins, the copper lines, with the 15 and 20 and the copper on the blade right there, going black on the scales, going mirror finish on the blade there. I'm so happy with how this knife turned out. And again, you just got to be able to push yourself to make something that's so outside of your comfort zone. And you know, sometimes that stuff's super successful. Whenever I first started making knives, I wanted to get to a point to where I was doing something like this, and I didn't know if it was going to happen, but really it was just
trying and trying and trying and trying until you get to a point to where you can make something like this. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars in tools. Most of the stuff that was used to make this was a forge, a hammer, an anvil. I did use a 2x72. I did use a Porter bandsaw. I think altogether might have been, I'd say about $2,800 worth of tools that I used to make this, which is crazy. You know, there's people that have presses, there's people that have so many different things. This again was just hand forged. Guys, y'all don't have to have a ton of tools. I could have done this purely on the 1x30 instead of the 2x72. If I'd have done that, I would have probably had about $900 worth of tools, because out of the $2,800, my 2x72 takes up almost $2,000 of that. So it's amazing what you can do without having a ton of stuff. So guys, hopefully y'all set out to make something like this, or even just start your first knife build and see how it goes. Eventually, after work and gaining knowledge and gaining the skill set, you could get to making something like this. And I'm proud of this. I want to know what y'all think about this whole entire package and how that turned out. I'm really looking forward to reading y'all's comments. So guys, leave them for me. I just want to thank y'all for being a part of this build. I'm happy with the direction that this year is going to go, and we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So make sure y'all subscribe, make sure y'all turn on the notification bell. If you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos, and guys, I just want to thank y'all again for coming by. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.